Sexual abuse scandal involving former assistant coach Jerry Sandusky continues to dominate headlines, and just into ESPN, according to sources, Joe Paterno has decided that he will step down as the head coach of Penn State at the end of this current season. Now, we showed you the pictures of the students rallying at Joe Paterno's house. Also going on last night on campus, thousands of students rushed towards Old Main, that's the administrative building on campus, and they wanted to demonstrate in Joe Paterno's honor, wanted to show a support for the coach. Police actually had to rush to the scene to make sure things did not get out of hand. So, Joe Paterno announcing that he will step down at the end of the season, but that leaves us with this. In the middle of this storm, Penn State at 8-1, very competitive this season, is scheduled to play Nebraska Saturday. Joe Paterno will be coaching. Stephen A., you okay with that?
No, I'm not. Not okay at all. I think Joe Paterno should step down immediately. I do not think he should be coaching this Saturday. I do not think he should be coaching the rest of the season. If he's going to retire, retire right now. And I say that with all due respect to his legacy, to the program that he built, to the hundreds of millions of dollars he generated for Penn State University, his contribution to the communities. I know about his legacy, and I want to emphasize that I'm incredibly respectful of that.
You've been there, you've covered them.
But I've covered him, I've covered him, and I'm not even talking about football right now. Even though I thought he should have retired years ago, I'm not even talking about that. When you hear the details, as you read this report, which I have in front of me, which I have read, and you hear some of the details that it entails, and you learn that this man was informed of this. He was informed of this. Yet Sandusky, the man accused of being basically a serial pedophile, okay, this man was allowed to be on campus, allowed to use athletic facilities. Yeah, I know he
maintained an office
on campus, all of this other stuff. There is no reason on God's green earth how you can avoid attaching that to some degree to Joe Paterno. Because if this man hadn't worked under Joe Paterno, if he wasn't considered a protege of Joe Paterno, if he wasn't considered a family member of the Penn State football program, there's no way he would have been able to be on that campus having those perks. There's no way to skirt around the fact that Joe Paterno indirectly, I'm not accusing him of what Sandusky is being accused of by any
stretch. Of course not, and legally he's exonerated.
Of course not, and legally he's exonerated. But there's a moral obligation here that wasn't fulfilled. He was one of the people that came up short on this as well. He needs to go, and he needs to go right now. Saturday, who's going to be interested in watching that football game? If anything, Joe Paterno's presence is going to bring more attention to the case. He has to go. Now. Right now.
Completely with you on this. The shame is just too great.
Is this a departure for you from where you were yesterday?
Yes, because I wanted to hear Joe speak yesterday. The university reportedly told him, according to Joe, you can't speak. There are huge liability issues here.
Right. But there will be lawsuits, and they're afraid of anything he may say could hurt them later.
Then late last night, Joe did speak briefly to the cameras. I think it was on his lawn or wherever he was.
Outside his window at his home.
Right. And in that conversation, he said, the kids who were victims, I think we ought to say a little prayer for them. That prayer needed to be said 10 years ago. The action needed to be taken 10 years ago to save future victims from this monster. This is starting to remind me of the horror movie in which the family protects and covers up for the beloved family member they all know is a monster who's completely out of control, and they continue to let that monster do what he does because they want to protect the family name and the shame that the family would suffer if it got out that the monster was doing what he does. That's what it reminds me of. And all those kids last night who masked to support Joe Paterno.
Ridiculous.
They should be ashamed of themselves. And trust me, in 10 years from today, 20 years from today, they'll look back and say, what were we thinking? Because those kids and kids before them and Penn State alums and fans are part of the bigger problem here. They have all enabled Joe Paterno to have absolute power on that campus. He is the most powerful man on that campus. And you know the old bromide, the old axiom about absolute power corrupts absolutely. And it did in this case because Joe Paterno wanted to protect the Penn State name, just the way those kids are trying to be true to their school and protect it. And in so doing, he covered up for the monster that was operating within their midst.
Some people would listen to what Skip just said and said that, you know what, it's somewhat dangerous what he just pointed to. Skip, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely 1,000% right. I am right with Skip Bayless. At the end of the day, this came down to the Penn State name. It came down to the Penn State name being more important than kids. Than kids. It is unforgivable.
Is there a rule here that the NCAA should be playing?